Is Elon Musk now the most powerful person in America when the world's richest man threatened to call the President of the United States a moron? It took less than 24 hours for national economic policy to completely reverse course. Today, we're diving into the remarkable standoff that has Washington insiders questioning who's really calling the shots. In the Trump administration, the political world was rocked this week when President Trump abruptly backpedaled on his ambitious tariff plans. After a day of reported tension with tech billionaire Elon Musk, what started as another bold economic move quickly morphed into one of the most unexpected policy reversals of Trump's presidency. Just last week, Trump proudly announced sweeping new tariffs on imported goods, claiming they would finally put America first and force trading partners to negotiate better deals. The announcements set markets tumbling and sparked immediate pushback from business leaders, but none more consequential than Tesla and SpaceX CEO Elon Musk, according to sources close to both men. The relationship between Trump and Musk rapidly deteriorated after the tariff announcement. Musk, whose companies rely heavily on global supply chains, reportedly contacted the president directly to express his concerns about how the tariffs would impact American manufacturing and technology development. But here's where things get truly fascinating and why this story matters. Far beyond typical Washington policy disputes, multiple White House insiders have confirmed that Musk didn't just politely disagree with them president's economic approach in what one source described as a heated exchange. Musk reportedly threatened to publicly denounce the tariffs as economically illiterate and suggested he might have to call Trump a moron on his social media platforms if the policy wasn't reconsidered. Given Musk's massive following of over 190 million users on X, formerly Twitter, alone, such a public rebuke would reach tens of millions of Americans instantly, many of whom are part of Trump's own base of supporters, who simultaneously admire both men. Within hours of this exchange, administration officials began quietly signaling that the tariff plan would be refined and calibrated, the Washington euphemisms for a major policy retreat. By the following morning, Trump announced significant exemptions that effectively gutted much of the original proposal. This extraordinary episode has political analysts questioning whether we're witnessing an unprecedented power dynamic in American politics. Is this the first presidency where private citizen, albeit one with enormous wealth, industrial influence, and social media reach, can effectively veto major economic policies with a single threat? This is completely uncharted territory, explains political strategist Melissa Thornton. We've seen corporate interests influence policy before, but never so directly, so quickly, and so publicly. It's like watching a real-time negotiation between two branches of government, except one branch is just a really rich guy with a Twitter account for Trump, a president who built his brand on projecting strength and refusing to back down. The rapid reversal has created significant tension within his own administration. 3 senior advisors have reportedly expressed concern about the optics of appearing to cave to pressure from Musk. The fallout from this high-stakes standoff has generated an avalanche of reactions across the political spectrum, and entertainment world. Former Speaker Nancy Pelosi didn't miss the opportunity to critique the administration, stating, "When the president develops economic policy based on fear of social media criticism rather than sound economic principles, Americans' jobs and livelihoods become collateral damage in an ego battle between billionaires." Meanwhile, conservative commentator Sean Hannity defended the president's decision, framing it as strategic flexibility rather than capitulation. The president listens to America's top job creators. That's called leadership, not weakness. The story even prompted a response from Tesla competitor and Ford CEO Jim Farley, who cryptically tweeted, "Interesting to see how some tariffs suddenly become harmful to American innovation when they affect certain companies. The rest of us have been saying this all along." Perhaps most notably, comedian and talk show host Stephen Colbert dedicated his entire opening monologue to the controversy, joking that the White House has a new decision-making process. "Will Elon think I'm a moron is apparently now the first question in the presidential daily briefing. The current tension exists against the backdrop of what has always been a complex relationship between these two titanic personalities. After years of public disagreement during Trump's first term, Musk surprised many by expressing support for Trump's economic vision during the 2024 campaign. The president even appointed Musk to head a new governmental efficiency commission in February, tasking him with identifying waste in federal spending. That appointment now appears to be in jeopardy, with sources indicating Musk has not attended scheduled meetings in the past 2 weeks. These are two men with massive egos who are used to getting their way, explains presidential historian Dr. Rachel Montgomery. Their temporary alliance was always going to face serious tests. The question now is whether this represents a permanent fracture or just another chapter in their complicated relationship. On ship, beyond the political drama, the tariff reversal could have significant economic consequences. Markets responded positively to the news, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average climbing over 500 points on the day of the announcement. Companies heavily reliant on international supply chains, like Tesla, Apple, and major retailers, avoided what analysts had projected would be billions in additional costs. However, American steel and aluminum producers, who had anticipated protection from foreign competition, saw their stock prices fall sharply. This is the challenge of modern economic policy, explains economist David Chen. In a globally integrated economy, tariffs create clear winners and losers. The administration has essentially chosen to prioritize the concerns of tech and consumer goods manufacturers over domestic raw materials producers. Perhaps the most significant aspect of this story isn't about tariffs at all. It's about how power operates in our modern media landscape. In previous eras, even the wealthiest industrialists needed to work through established channels to influence policy. Lobbying firms, industry associations, or political action committees. The process was slow, institutionalized, and largely hidden from public view today. A single individual with enough followers, name recognition, and perceived credibility can create immediate pressure that circumvents traditional power structures entirely. The question for our democratic system is whether this represents a dangerous concentration of influence or simply a more transparent form of the power dynamics that have always existed. What we're witnessing is the collision of 21st century social media power with 18th century governmental structures, notes constitutional scholar Professor James Wilson. Our founders never envisioned a world where a private citizen could instantly communicate their thoughts to millions of people and move markets and policy with a single message. As Washington continues to process this remarkable episode, all eyes are on both Trump and Musk to see what happens next. Will the president reassert his authority with a new economic initiative? We must continue to flex his influence on other policy matters, or will the two most unconventional figures in American public life find a way to reconcile their competing visions? One thing is certain in a political environment where traditional rules and norms continue to evolve. The power of personality, platform, and perception may matter more than formal titles and authorities. As voters, consumers, and citizens, we're all witnessing a real-time experiment in how governance works in the digital age. For now, American manufacturers, consumers, and workers will experience the concrete consequences of decisions made not just in the halls of power, but also in the social media feeds and private conversations between two of the most influential figures of our time. And that might be the most important story of all.